hard, really physical, and playing with kind of a swarm defense mentality, which is what we talk about day in and day out. And I thought their practice habits showed up on game day. I thought our guys did a really good job on the bye week and getting some of the extra reps that we needed to get prepared, and then carrying that into the week of preparation on game week, and then executed at a really high level. I thought, one of our keys to victory was to stop the run. That was certainly a pass-oriented offense, but you want to make sure you make them one-dimensional outside of the first probably the first run that they had in the whatever that was, the first series of the game. Outside of that one, I thought we did a really nice job of stopping the run. I think they only had like 36 yards in the second half rushing. We were able to affect the quarterback, which was really our second key to victory. Thought we did a nice job changing pictures, windows, our players kind of moving in and out of showing pressure looks, getting out of pressure looks, and just keep changing the pictures on him. And I thought that affected him to where we were able to take the ball away from him and also speed up some of his progression and some of their route concepts and going through the route tree. So, and then situationally, really, we got off the field on third down at some really critical moments. We were 8 for 11 on third and medium and long. We were 0 for 3 on third and short. A couple of them, they got us in a sub personnel, and then got to like 4th and 1, and they were able to convert a couple of those, some of the short yardage concepts. But for us to be 1 of 3 in the red zone, I thought was really critical. We were able to get stops down there. The first drive of the game, we were able to hold them to a field goal. Coming out of the second half, they had a drive right there, and we were able to come away with a takeaway in the red zone as well. So, didn't give up a touchdown right there until the very end of the game. So, I thought from that standpoint that was good. 3 takeaways again. I think we've had 13 over the last 4 games. Our guys are doing a really nice job of taking the ball away, and then we were able to get some pressure on the quarterback. We had 2 sacks. They've only had given up 4 all season long. So, moving in the right direction with a lot of things that we're doing fundamentally on defense, and then guys leaning into some of the things schematically as well. When you look at Mercer, really like what they do on offense. Impressed with a lot of the concepts that they run. They're very dynamic. They have a lot of volume. Actually, probably similar to what we've seen the last couple of weeks. But played 2 quarterbacks. Both of them can hurt you in the run game. They'll take off and they'll scramble. They've got a little bit of a 1+ style in some of the things that they're asking those guys to do. And then they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. I mean, that's what comes from being 9-1, and you can tell their guys are making plays downfield in the passing game. Their running backs run really hard. They got 2 really good complementary backs. One guy that is really fast, and when he gets an open field, he can break away, and another guy that's kind of a bruiser. And so they're going to have a lot of confidence coming in. We've got to do a great job in our preparation throughout the week, like our players have done, and not take anything for granted, and then ultimately show up on game day and play with the level of urgency that I think we're starting to play with on defense.
Thanks, Coach. Let's start with Chase on the far left.
A couple times earlier this season, you mentioned that setting an edge on the perimeter was an area for improvement. How do you see specifically that now in terms of how they look against LSU?
Yeah, I think I thought we did a really nice job of changing the perimeter pictures against LSU. Some of that was how we were fitting the run and how we were saying, this is our force defender to the field, this is our force defender to the boundary, but also who is responsible for the flat from a coverage perspective. We kept kind of mixing and changing those looks up, and I think our guys have done a really nice job in that regard. So that's something that we're going to have to be aware of this week. I think Mercer does a really nice job of attacking your perimeter, and you got to hold really good edges against them.
Go to the front right here with Hamilton.
Deontay said that his interception was something that he saw in practice and was able to execute.
Yeah.
What type of effect does that have on a player's confidence in the scheme and the coaches when you show them something in practice, it shows up in the game and they make a play?
Yeah, I think that those things are huge, and you know, it's also fun that you can point to everybody else on how critical every rep in practice is, because it can be the difference in production in a game. You know, on the positive, that was something that we showed them in practice, right, and it showed up on game day, and he made a hell of a play in that regard. You know, on the other side of it, I'm going to use the example, we showed them that sneak play that they ran on 4th down. All right, we used that in the Saturday morning walkthrough, got prepared for it, kind of talked about it, worked it, but we didn't execute it in the moment. And so every single rep matters, whether it's a walkthrough rep on a blacktop outside of a hotel on Saturday, or a Tuesday or Wednesday practice red zone rep that we end up getting a takeaway off of it. Every single rep matters, and it can be the difference in the game. And we saw that on Saturday.
Staying on the right side, Nick.
Yeah, you talked about situational success. What would you say went into those twice when they were within 5 yards of the goal line and you guys made stops? So what would you say was the key there?
You know, we put in a little, we tweaked some things that we were doing down there from a scheme standpoint, but I think it was just the different variations of stuff that we have already been doing. Our guys are just getting better and more comfortable at things that we're defending down in the red zone. So, you know, red zone defense, it's not overly complicated in some of the things that we do from like what we're asking them to do scheme-wise, but how you defend all the different variations of passing concepts that teams run down there, it takes a little while to kind of lean into that, and I think our guys are starting to do a nice job. And to, you know, to his point before, they're playing with anticipation.
Let's go to Charlie.
Yeah, hey coach, just with Q Robinson's injury, maybe what does that do to the Wolf linebacker depth, and who do you maybe look to step up in his absence?
Yeah, you know, Q, unfortunately, you know, he's done a tremendous job this season, and unfortunately will not be with us for the rest of the year. You know, that's a hard thing to go through as a player. That's certainly hard on us as a team. You know, when you have a guy that's been so productive for us, he's a leader for us. I've been so impressed with Q. I've told you guys this before, just impressed with his level of urgency every single day, the leadership and demanding presence in terms of holding the standard that I think he really has brought to some of our younger players and some younger guys in that room. And so he'll still have to continue some of those roles, right, of being a great leader. He's just going to have to do that from an off-the-field role. And so we'll have to continue to step up and move on without him. I've got a lot of confidence in some of our younger players that I think have stepped up in that position already. And Quay Rousseau and Yanze Pierre is doing a really good job, starting to get a little bit more out of him. And so, you know, those guys are excited for the challenge, next man up mentality. And when you look in, you know, as the season goes on, these are the defining moments. Is do players step up in the moment when they're needed, and ultimately that will, you know, determine our success here on the back end of the season.
Let's go to Tony on the left side.
Kind of two quick follow-ups on that. We didn't see Keanu Coot at the LSU game, and then is there an update on him? And then also, how much progress have you seen from Keeley and just kind of his move to that position?
Okay, well, Keon Keeley.
The bandit position, sorry.
Yeah, so Keon's playing the bandit position. Actually, got in the game at the end there, is doing some really nice things. You know, I think learning the position, you know, he's always been a stand-up guy, right? So that's a totally different world when you're putting your hand in the dirt and you're playing all those things. But I think, you know, there's some optimism about what he can do for us. He's just learning the position. But from a physical standpoint, from an effort standpoint, I think he's really taking steps in the right direction there. So Keanu Coat won't be with us this week. I'll let Kalen kind of address those things, but certainly the other guys in the room are ready to step up and fill the role that will, you know, without Q Rob being there.
Let's go to Mike in the middle here.
What does Jihad bring to you when he's on the edge, and without Q, is that something maybe you can explore a little bit more?
Yeah, we you know, we're doing those things with Jihad already, you know, as a pass rusher, and in some sub-package things, you know, and I think he's really, he's such a difference maker wherever you put him on the field, and so you want to find creative ways to get him in one-on-one matchups from a pass rush standpoint. There's things that we can do from a standpoint of if we show, you know, him as a defensive end and then drop him out in coverage, right? There's different things that we can do scheme-wise from that perspective. But certainly in terms of giving us pass rush, I think that is a piece of his game, and that's what, to me, makes him such a well-rounded player. You can play him as an inside backer, you can play him as an outside backer, as a rush edge, you know, I mean, you know, that dude's playing 4 different positions for us right now and is able to hold a lot of volume in terms of what we ask him to do. And so Jihad's playing at a really high level. We're going to utilize him any way we can.
So Kurt, right next to Mike.
You intimated some of this, but I was curious as to the progress of the team going day one forward. Was this a big step in a kind of a permanent step this week, or would you say it's still just part of the trend line?
I would love to say it's a permanent step. I just don't have a crystal ball, you know, in front of me there. I think our guys are taking steps in the right direction. I think we're trending in the right direction as a defense. I do think our players understanding of what we're trying to do from a scheme standpoint. I think our players fundamentally are getting better and better. Our coaches are doing a really tremendous job of just continuing to build the fundamentals within our players. And they're starting to play with a lot of offensive recognition and anticipation, you know. And so to me, to me, the makings of a good defense are to, you know, create enough negative plays and game-changing style plays and also limit explosives at the same time. And I think we're doing that at a higher level, you know, than where we were maybe at the beginning of the season. So,
Jumping to the left side, let's go to Colin.
Thinking, with those players, you mentioned Quay, you mentioned Yanzi as guys that would replace Q Robinson. I'm curious what kind of example that Q Robinson has been to those younger players, whether even if it's the next guys like Justin. Or what kind of example has Q Robinson been in terms of on-field? Like, this is what we expect out of a linebacker in that position.
yeah, I think, you know, kind of going on to what I've said before, I think Q holds the standard of urgency, practice habits, you know, discipline that it takes to do that role and to play that position, because there's a lot of things that we ask that guy to do in terms of being a part of the run fit, dropping out in coverage, folding back inside, blitzing off the edge, all those different, you know, skill sets, right, that it requires. And there's also a lot mentally that those guys have to be locked into. And so I think Q's really set the standard of the urgency that you have to be disciplined to do your job in that role. But then there's also just a level of energy that he brings and effort that he brings to practice, and it shows up on game day in terms of some of the physicality and effort that he's showing. So, you know, those other guys, it's a great room. You know, C-Rob does a really good job with those guys, and they're bought into to that position, like what we do out of it, and they like their role. But, you know, ultimately, you know, when you have a guy that has been a really steady presence and a playmaker on defense, those other guys are going to have to step up in the moment.
We'll finish up with Katie here in the middle.
You talked in your opening about keys to victory, and you do a lot of the weeks. Are those actual tangible things you come up with for the guys each week, and then are able to point to after the game of, okay, we did this and it helped us win, or
Yeah.
we didn't do this and it contributed to a loss?
Yeah, so we started doing that years ago. I mean, there's things that we carry within the Swarm D that are kind of our identity, you know, who we are as a defense. And then on top of that, we talk about what are the 3 things that we have to do to win this game specifically. So we talk about it as a defensive staff on Mondays, and then we present it to the players on Tuesday morning, and then we review that on Sunday of whether we hit those markers or not. Some of those things, you know, are tangible, you know, things that we ask our guys to do in terms of maybe stopping the run with a certain number, or third down efficiency, or whatever it may be. But other things like affecting the quarterback, you know, you can point to certain tangible things, but also did we put him in a position where the quarterback played at a more uncomfortable level than what he normally plays? And, you I thought we were able to do that this past week, and so that was gonna be a critical piece of the game, and so we kinda made sure we laid that out for the players.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys, real time.